The trade station Carveth Prime floated in the darkness between stars like a city made of light. Ships from 100 different worlds came and went through its massive docking bays. Strange creatures walked its metal corridors. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had too many eyes or not enough limbs. And somewhere among them, trying very hard not to be noticed, walked a tired old human named Elias Vance. He wore simple clothes. Brown jacket, warm boots, nothing special. His face carried the lines of a man who had seen too much and slept too little. A scar ran from his left eyebrow down to his cheek. His hair was gray at the temples. He moved through the crowded market with his head down, buying supplies, speaking to no one. Humanity had only been part of the galactic community for 80 years. That was nothing. Some species had been traveling between stars for 10,000 years. To most aliens, humans were newcomers, weak, soft, interesting in the way a child's drawing might be interesting, but nothing more. Vance preferred it that way. He did not want to be recognized. He did not want to be remembered. He just wanted to buy his supplies, return to his small ship, and disappear into the black. But the universe, it seemed, had other plans. The arena at the center of Carveth Prime was ancient. It had stood for 3,000 years, a place where disputes were settled the old way. With blood, with steel, with honor. Today, the seats were full. Thousands of beings had gathered to watch a trial by combat. Vance had not planned to be here. He had been walking past when he heard the shouting. He had stopped when he heard a young voice begging for mercy. And now he stood at the edge of the crowd, watching something that made his old heart grow cold. In the center of the arena stood a boy. A human boy, maybe 20 years old. His name was Marcus, and he was terrified. His hands were shaking. Tears ran down his face. He was a trader, nothing more. He had come to Carveth to sell goods from Earth. Simple things. Coffee, chocolate, music files. He had never held a weapon in his life. Across from him stood Princess Shiravel of the Torvan Empire. She was magnificent and terrible. 8 feet tall. 4 arms, each one thick with muscle. Her skin was covered in scales that shimmered like oil on water, shifting from purple to green to black as she moved. Her eyes were golden and cold. She wore armor of polished bone and carried 2 curved swords that looked sharp, enough to cut light itself. The Torvan were warriors. They had been warriors for 50,000 years. Their empire spanned 200 worlds. They respected only strength. And Princess Shiravel was the strongest of them all. She had fought 94 duels in this very arena. She had won every single one. "This human cheated my house," Shiravel announced to the crowd. Her voice was deep and carried easily across the stone seats. "He sold us goods that were false, broken, worthless. By Torvan law, the punishment is death. Or trial by combat." Marcus fell to his knees. "Please," he sobbed. "It was a mistake. The shipping container was damaged. I didn't know. Please, I'm not a fighter." "I can't. Then you will die," Shiravel said simply. "Choose your weapon, human. Let us finish this quickly. I have more important matters to attend to." The crowd laughed. Some aliens jeered at the crying boy. Others looked away, bored already. This would not be a fight. This would be an execution. Vance closed his eyes. He thought about his ship. He thought about the quiet of space. He thought about all the reasons he should turn around and walk away. Then he thought about a young man, alone and afraid, about to die for a mistake he did not make. "Damn it," Vance muttered to himself. He pushed through the crowd. People made way for him without knowing why. There was something in the way he moved, something that made the smarter beings step aside. Vance walked into the arena. "I invoke Caltheron," he said. His voice was not loud, but somehow everyone heard it. The right of champion substitution. I will fight in the boy's place. The crowd went silent. Princess Shiravel turned to look at this new human. She studied him for a long moment. She saw an old man in a cheap jacket. She saw gray hair and tired eyes. She saw someone who should be sitting by a fire somewhere, not standing in an arena. She laughed. It was a cruel sound, and the crowd laughed with her. The noise filled the arena like thunder. You? Shiravel said, still laughing. You wish to fight me? Human, I have killed warriors who trained for centuries. I have faced beasts that could tear starships apart. And you think you can stand against me? Vance said nothing. He just looked at her. You won't last a minute against me, human, Shiravel declared. She raised her swords and let them catch the light. But if you wish to die in the boy's place, I will grant that wish. It makes no difference to me. Vance nodded slowly. Then this won't take long. Something in his voice made a few beings in the crowd stop laughing. There was no fear in it. No doubt. Just a simple statement of fact, like a man commenting on the weather. Marcus grabbed Vance's arm as he walked past. Sir, you can't. She'd kill you. Why would you do this? You don't even know me. Vance looked down at the boy. For just a moment, his eyes softened. Because you're one of us, he said quietly. And we don't leave our own behind. Now get out of the arena, son. This is no place for you. Marcus stumbled away, still crying, still confused. He did not understand. He could not understand. Who was this old man? Why would a stranger die for him? In the stands, high above the arena floor, a Torvan general named Kethver leaned forward in his seat. His golden eyes narrowed. Something was wrong. He had spent 40 years studying warfare. He had seen thousands of soldiers, fighters, killers. And something about the way this human moved made his scales prickle with warning. Get me the human registry, he ordered his aide. I want to know who that man is, now. Down in the arena, Shiravel gestured to the weapon rack. Choose your blade, human. I will give you that much honor, at least. Vance walked to the rack. There were many weapons there. Long swords, battle axes, spears with edges that hummed with energy. He ignored them all. His hand closed around a simple short blade, barely longer than his forearm. Plain metal. No decoration. Nothing special. He tested the weight. Nodded once. Turned to face the princess. Shiravel smiled like a predator that had just spotted easy prey. She dropped into a fighting stance, all forearms ready, both swords gleaming. Any last words, old man? Vance shifted his weight slightly. His eyes, which had seemed tired before, were suddenly very clear, very focused, like a man waking up from a long sleep. Just one piece of advice, he said. You should have asked my name first. The gong sounded. The duel began. The gong sound faded into silence. Every eye in the arena was fixed on the two figures below. On one side stood Princess Shiravel, a mountain of muscle and scales, 4 arms holding 2 blades that had tasted the blood of hundreds. On the other stood an old human with a short knife and a worn jacket. It should have been over in seconds. Shiravel moved first. She was fast. Impossibly fast for something so large. Her 4 arms became a storm of steel, slashing from every direction at once. Left, right, high, low. The blades sang through the air with a sound like tearing silk. The human should have died. The crowd expected to see blood. They expected to see pieces. Instead, they saw nothing. Vance was not there. He had moved. Not far. Just a few inches. Just enough. The blades cut only air. He stood exactly where he had been, but somehow none of the strikes had touched him. Shiravel's eyes widened for just a moment. Then they narrowed. She attacked again. This time, she was faster. This time, she was smarter. She did not just slash. She feinted. She twisted. She used patterns she had learned over 300 years of combat. Patterns that had killed Torvan champions. Patterns that had ended wars. Vance moved like water. He did not block. He did not parry. He simply was not where the blades wanted him to be. Each movement was small. Each step was precise. He wasted nothing. It was like watching a leaf avoid raindrops, drifting between them without effort. The crowd had stopped cheering. Something was wrong. This was not how humans fought. This was not how anyone fought. High in the stands, General Kethfer, as aide, returned with a datapad. His scales had gone pale, which for a Torvan meant terror. "General," the aide whispered, "you need to see this." Kethfer took the pad. He read the name. He read the file. And for the first time in 60 years, he felt real fear. "Stop the duel," he said. His voice cracked. "We need to stop the duel right now, sir." The aide looked confused. "It has already begun. By law, it cannot be stopped until I know the law." Keffer grabbed the aide's arm with enough force to bruise. "That man down there is Commander Elias Vance, the Reaper of Proxima. The human who killed Warlord Dexon with his bare hands. The one who held Proxima 4 alone against an entire armada for 3 days." The aide's mouth fell open. That's not possible. That man is a legend. Stories to scare children. He's not real. He's very real." Keffer looked down at the arena. "And our princess is about to find out just how real." Down on the arena floor, Shiravel was breathing hard. She had been fighting for 30 seconds. She had thrown over 100 strikes. She had not landed a single one. This was impossible. She was the greatest warrior of her generation. She had trained since she could walk. She had killed her first enemy at age 12. She had never faced anyone who could avoid her blades like this. The human had not even attacked. He just stood there, watching her with those calm eyes, moving only when he needed to. It was like he knew where her blades would be before she did. "What are you?" she demanded. Her voice was not as steady as before. "What trick is this? What human magic?" Vance did not answer. He just waited. Shiravel screamed and attacked again. This time, she held nothing back. She moved with everything she had, 400 pounds of warrior muscle, pushing her body to its absolute limit. Her blades were a blur. The wind from her strikes kicked up dust from the arena floor. Vance leaned left, stepped right, ducked under a swing that would have taken his head, rose up inside her guard like a ghost. For one frozen moment, they were face to face, close enough to touch. His knife could have opened her throat. His hand could have found her eye. 100 killing moves were available to him. He did nothing. He simply looked at her. Then he stepped back and resumed his waiting stance. "You're playing with me," Shiravel realized. Her voice was a whisper. "You've been playing with me this whole time." Vance's expression did not change. "You said I wouldn't last a minute. I'm giving you your minute. You have 30 seconds left." Fear, real fear. Shiravel had not felt it since she was a child. It was cold in her stomach. It made her hands shake. This human, this small, soft, fragile human, was not afraid of her at all. He never had been. She had walked into this arena thinking she was the predator. Now she understood the truth. She was prey. She had always been prey. She just hadn't known it. But she was a princess of the Torvan. She would not show fear. She would not bow to a human. She raised her blades one more time. "Then stop playing," she snarled. "Fight me for real. Are you sure you want that? Fight me." Vance closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, Something had changed. The tiredness was gone. The softness was gone. What looked out of those eyes now was something old and hard and sharp. Something that had seen 1,000 battles and survived them all. "All right," he said quietly. "Let me tell you who I am." He began to move forward. Not fast, just walking. One step at a time. 40 years ago, I was a soldier. Just a regular soldier. Nothing special. Then the Hegemony War came. Do you know about the Hegemony War? Shiravel knew. Everyone knew. It was the war that had announced humanity to the galaxy. The war where a species that had only been in space for 40 years fought the largest military alliance in known history and somehow, impossibly, won. At Proxima 4, Vance continued. My entire unit was killed. Everyone. All my friends. All my commanders. I was the only one left. And there was an army coming. 10,000 soldiers. Warships in orbit. Artillery that could level mountains. He was 10 feet away now. Shiravel wanted to attack, but somehow she couldn't move. His voice held her frozen. I held that position for 72 hours. Alone. 10,000 soldiers. And I killed so many that they gave me a name. The Reaper. They told stories about me to scare their children, Princess. Just like they probably tell stories about you. 5 feet. I ended that war. I killed Warlord Dexon in single combat. I broke the Hegemony spirit. And then I retired, because I was tired. So tired of death. I just wanted peace. 3 feet. But here's the thing about humans. He raised his blade. We don't get to rest. Not when one of our own needs us. Shiravel finally moved. She swung with all her strength, both blades at once, a killing strike that nothing could survive. The sound of shattering metal filled the arena. One of her swords exploded into pieces. The other flew from her hand. Before she could understand what had happened, she was on her knees. And the human's blade was at her throat. She had not even seen him move. Elapsed time since the gong. 47 seconds. The arena was silent. No one breathed. No one moved. The greatest warrior of the Torvan Empire knelt before a tired old human in a worn jacket. Your minute is up, Vance said quietly. Do you yield? Shiravel looked up at him. For the first time in 300 years, she did not know what to say. The blade at her throat was cold, sharp, steady. It did not shake at all. Behind it, the human's eyes looked down at her without anger, without hate. If anything, they looked sad. Shiravel had imagined death many times. Every warrior did. She had pictured dying in glorious battle against a worthy enemy. She had pictured it as something loud and bright and beautiful. She had never pictured it like this. Kneeling in the dust. Beaten so completely that she had not even understood what happened. Killed by someone she had laughed at moments before. Do you yield? The human asked again. The words stuck in her throat. Yield. No Tarvan royal had yielded in 500 years. It was worse than death. It meant shame. It meant admitting that someone was better than you. But looking into this human's eyes, Shiravel understood something. He was better than her. He was better than anyone she had ever faced. And if she died here, it would not be glorious. It would just be stupid. I yield, she whispered. The arena remained silent for a long moment. Then chaos erupted. Shouts, screams. Some beings were cheering. Others were arguing. The Torvan in the crowd were roaring with anger and confusion. Their princess, their undefeated champion, had lost to a human. Vance lowered his blade. He stepped back. Then he did something that confused everyone. He offered her his hand. Shiravel stared at it. This was not how things worked. In Torvan culture, the victor did not help the defeated. The victor stood tall and let the loser crawl away in shame. That was the way of the warrior, but this human was not following Torvan rules. He just stood there with his hand extended, waiting. Slowly, carefully, Shiravel reached up and took his hand. His grip was firm as he helped her to her feet. She towered over him. She was twice his weight and had 4 arms to his 2. And yet she knew now that none of that mattered. "You're good," Vance said quietly, so only she could hear. "One of the best I've ever faced. Your technique is almost perfect. Your speed is incredible. In 10 more years, you might be the greatest warrior in the galaxy." Shiravel did not know what to say. Was he mocking her? "But you made one mistake," Vance continued. "You fought the man you saw, not the man I am. You looked at my size, my age, my species, and you decided I was weak. You never considered that I might be dangerous." He released her hand and stepped back. "Don't make that mistake again. Not everyone will let you live to learn from it." General Kethfer pushed through the crowd and entered the arena. His scales were pale. His movements were stiff with formal respect. He stopped in front of Vance and did something that made the entire arena gasp. He bowed. A Torvan general bowing to a human. It was unheard of. It was impossible. And yet here it was, happening in front of thousands of witnesses. "Commander Vance," Kethfer said, keeping his head low. "The Torvan Empire offers its deepest apologies for this incident. We did not know you were aboard the station. Had we known, this duel would never have been allowed to proceed." Vance looked tired again. The sharp edge in his eyes was fading, replaced by that weary sadness. "I'm retired, General. Just a merchant now. I was only here to buy supplies. Men like you do not retire, Commander." Kethfer finally raised his head. "The galaxy will not allow it. You are too important. Too dangerous. I'm just an old man who wants to be left alone. You are the Reaper of Proxima. You are the human who broke the hegemony. Whether you like it or not, you are a symbol. And symbols do not get to fade away." Vance sighed. He looked around the arena at the thousands of faces staring at him. Most of them had never seen a human do anything impressive. To them, humans were new, young, weak, a minor species barely worth noticing. Now they were seeing something different. Now they were seeing what a single human could do. "The boy," Vance said. "Marcus, what happens to him?" General Kethfer glanced at Shiravel, who was still standing in a daze. "The duel settled the matter. By our law, he is innocent. No further action will be taken against him." "Good," Vance nodded. "Then I'll be leaving." He turned and walked toward the arena exit. The crowd parted before him like water before a ship. No one spoke. No one blocked his path. They just watched him go. This impossible human who had humbled their greatest warrior in less than a minute. Marcus was waiting at the edge of the arena. His face was pale. His eyes were red from crying. When he saw Vance approaching, he ran forward and fell to his knees. "Thank you," the boy gasped. "Thank you. I don't understand. Why would you risk your life for me?" "Why would you risk your life for me? I'm nobody. I'm just a traitor." Vance stopped. He looked down at the young man, and something in his expression softened. "You're not nobody," he said quietly. "You're human. That makes you family. And humans don't abandon family. But you could have died." "No." Vance shook his head slightly. "I couldn't have. But that's not important. What's important is that you're alive. Go home, Marcus. Go back to Earth. Hug your parents. Live your life." "I don't have parents," Marcus whispered. "They died when I was young. That's why I became a traitor. I had no one, nothing." Vance was silent for a long moment. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a small card. "This is my communication code," he said. "If you ever need help, if you're ever in trouble, call me. I'll come." Marcus took the card with shaking hands. "Why? Why do you care about someone like me?" Vance looked at him. For a moment, the boy saw something in those tired eyes. Something old and painful. A memory, perhaps, of another young person who had been alone. Another young person who had needed help and hadn't gotten it in time. "Because someone should have done the same for me once," Vance said quietly. "A long time ago. And they didn't." He turned and walked away. The crowd still parted for him. Whispers followed in his wake. The name Reaper moved through the arena like a wind, spoken in a dozen different languages. Back in the center of the arena, Shiravel watched him go. Her hands were still trembling. Her mind was still trying to understand what had happened. She had been beaten, humiliated, shown to be a fool in front of thousands. By all rights, she should hate this human. She should want revenge. She should be planning ways to kill him. But she felt none of those things. What she felt was something she had never experienced before. Respect. True respect. Not the respect given to rank or title or family name. The respect that one warrior gives to another who is simply, undeniably, better. "Who are you, Commander Elias Vance?" she whispered to herself. "What made you into this?" She did not know, but she was going to find out. Whatever it took, whatever it cost, she was going to understand the truth about humans. 3 months passed. In that time, the galaxy changed. The footage of the duel spread across every network, every station, every world that had access to information. Beings who had never thought about humans suddenly found themselves watching an old man in a worn jacket defeat the greatest warrior of the Torvan Empire in 47 seconds. Military academies studied the footage frame by frame. They slowed it down. They analyzed every movement. They tried to understand how a species with no claws, no scales, no natural weapons could produce something like Commander Elias Vance. They did not find easy answers. On the Torvan homeworld, Princess Shiravel locked herself in the great library. For 3 months, she did nothing but study. She read everything about humans she could find. History, biology, culture, war. What she found terrified her. Humans had only been a spacefaring species for 120 years. 120 years. The Torvan had been sailing between stars for 50,000. And yet, in that tiny span of time, humans had fought a war against one of the largest alliances in the galaxy, and won. How? The question burned in her mind. How did they do it? She found the answer in their history, and the answer was worse than she had imagined. Humans did not evolve as the dominant species on their world. They were not the fastest, or the strongest, or the deadliest. They were small. They were soft. They had no armor, no venom, no natural defenses at all. And yet they survived. They survived by being stubborn, by refusing to die, by looking at every challenge and simply deciding that they would overcome it. No matter what, their planet tried to kill them with ice ages. They made fire and clothing. It tried to kill them with predators. They made weapons and hunted the predators instead. It tried to kill them with disease. They made medicine, and when they ran out of challenges on their own world, they looked up at the stars and said, "We will go there too." Shiravel read about something called World War II, a single conflict that killed over 70 million humans. 70 million. The Torvan had never lost that many people in all their wars combined. And the humans had done it to themselves. But here was the part that really made her scales go cold. They recovered. Within 50 years of that terrible war, they had walked on their moon. Within 100 years, they were building ships that could travel between stars. They did not break. They did not give up. They did not learn fear. They just kept going. On the day the 3 months ended, Shiravel went to her father, the emperor. She knelt before his throne and made a request that shocked the entire court. "I wish to go to Earth," she said. "I wish to study humans. I wish to understand them." The emperor looked down at his daughter. He had seen the footage. He had watched her defeat. He knew that she was changed by it. Why? He asked. "Because I was wrong," Shiravel admitted. "I thought humans were weak. I thought they were nothing. And a human who was old enough to be my grandfather defeated me without even trying. Father, there is something about them we do not understand. Something important. If we do not learn what it is, they will leave us behind." The emperor considered this for a long time. Then he nodded. "Go," he said. "Learn, and when you understand, come back and teach us." Meanwhile, on the station Carveth Prime, Commander Vance was trying to leave. He had been trying to leave for 3 months. But every time he prepared his ship for departure, something happened. A diplomat wanted to meet him. A military officer wanted to interview him. A journalist wanted his story. He was tired. So tired. He had spent 40 years being the Reaper. He just wanted to be nobody again. Today, he sat in a small bar near the docking bay, drinking something that almost tasted like coffee. His ship was fueled. His supplies were loaded. In 1 hour, he would finally escape into the black. That was when she walked in. Shiravel looked different. She had traded her bone armor for simple traveling clothes. Her 4 arms were hidden under a loose cloak. She moved through the bar quietly, without the pride and arrogance she had shown in the arena. She sat down across from Vance. "Commander," she said. Vance looked at her for a long moment. Then he sighed. "I was hoping I'd be gone before you found me. I am persistent. I noticed." They sat in silence. The bar was mostly empty. A few aliens sat in corners, minding their own business. Outside the window, ships moved slowly through the station's traffic lanes. "I have spent 3 months studying your species," Shiravel finally said. "I have read your history. I have watched your wars. I have tried to understand how creatures so small and soft and short-lived could produce someone like you. And? What did you learn?" Shiravel was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was different, softer, almost humble. "Your species fought 2 world wars," she said. "You nearly destroyed yourselves with nuclear weapons. You burned your own planet and poisoned your own air. By all logic, you should have gone extinct a dozen times over." "Probably," Vance agreed. "But you didn't. You survived. You reached for the stars. You took a universe that wanted you dead, and you conquered it through sheer refusal to fail." She leaned forward. "How? How do you do it? What is the secret?" Vance was silent for a long time. He stared into his cup. Outside, a ship departed, its engines leaving a trail of light against the stars. "There is no secret," he finally said. "We're just too stupid to know when to quit." Shiravel frowned. "That cannot be the answer. It's the only answer I have." Vance looked up at her. "We're not special, Princess. We're not stronger or smarter or better than anyone else. We're just stubborn. When the universe tells us something is impossible, we don't believe it. When death comes for us, we punch it in the face and keep walking. But why? Why keep fighting when there is no hope?" Vance smiled. It was a small smile, sad and tired. "Because hope is not something you find," he said quietly. "It's something you make. Every time we refuse to give up, we create a little more hope. Every time we survive something we shouldn't have, we prove that survival is possible. And the more we prove it, the more we believe it. The more we believe it, the stronger we get." He finished his drink and stood up. "That's the secret, Princess. There is no secret. There's just us. Too stubborn to die. Too angry to quit. Making hope out of nothing because nobody else is going to make it for us. He put some credits on the table and picked up his bag. I have to go, he said. My ship is waiting. Shiravel stood quickly. Will I see you again? Vance paused at the door. He looked back at her, this tall warrior princess who had gone from enemy to student in the space of a single fight. The galaxy is a big place, he said. But humans have a habit of showing up where we're least expected. So maybe, someday. He walked out the door and disappeared into the crowd. Shiravel watched him go. She stood there for a long time, thinking about what he had said. Hope is not something you find. It's something you make. She had a lot to learn. The years that followed changed everything. Princess Shiravel traveled to Earth. She walked its cities and climbed its mountains. She spoke with soldiers and farmers, children and elders, scientists and artists. She ate their food and learned their languages and tried to understand the fire that burned inside them. It took her 5 years. 5 years of living among humans, studying them, training with them, fighting beside them. 5 years of watching them fail and fall and get back up again. 5 years of seeing them face impossible odds with nothing but determination and bad jokes. When she finally returned to the Torvan homeworld, she was not the same princess who had left. She stood before the Emperor and his council and delivered her report. She spoke for 6 hours. She showed footage and data and analysis. She explained everything she had learned about humanity, and when she was finished, the council was silent for a long time. So they are not special, the Emperor finally said. They have no secret weapon, no hidden power. They are simply stubborn. Yes, Father. Shiravel stood tall. But their stubbornness is the most dangerous force in the galaxy. They do not accept limits. They do not believe in impossible. And every time they survive something they should not have survived, they inspire others to try the same. What do you suggest we do? Shiravel took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been preparing for. I suggest we stop treating them as lesser beings, she said. I suggest we offer them alliance. True alliance. Not as their protectors, but as their partners. Because if we do not become their friends, Father, one day we will have to face them as enemies. And I have seen what one tired old human can do. I do not want to see what happens when all of them decide to fight. The council debated for 3 days. In the end, they agreed. The Torvan Human Alliance was signed on a summer day on Earth, in a city called Geneva. Princess Shiravel represented her empire. A young human diplomat represented Earth, and standing in the back of the room, wearing the same worn jacket he always wore, Commander Elias Vance watched quietly. He had not wanted to come. He had spent the last 5 years drifting through the galaxy, avoiding attention, trying to find the feast he desperately needed. But when the invitation came, signed by Shiravel herself, he could not refuse. After the ceremony, she found him. They had not spoken since that day in the bar. 5 years was a long time. She had changed. Her movements were different now, less aggressive, more fluid. She had learned from humans, and it showed. Commander, she said, thank you for coming. Vance nodded. Couldn't miss it. History in the making. It would not have happened without you. She stood beside him, looking out the window at the Earth below. The planet was blue and green and beautiful. Small, fragile, somehow impossible. I just want to fight, Vance said. You're the one who did the hard work. You showed me what was possible. You showed the entire galaxy. She paused. That footage of our duel has been viewed more than any other recording in galactic history. It is studied in every military academy, every warrior school, every training camp. I know. They won't leave me alone about it. Shiravel smiled. It looked strange on her reptilian face, but she had practiced it. You hate being famous. I hate being anything. I just want to be nobody. You can never be nobody, Commander. Not anymore. You are the face of humanity's strength. You are the proof that they should be respected. Vance was quiet for a long time. He watched ships taking off and landing in the distance. He thought about all the young humans who would grow up in a galaxy that saw them as equals instead of weaklings. Maybe that's not so bad, he admitted quietly. There is someone who wants to see you. Shiravel said. She gestured toward the crowd. A young man was pushing through it, tall and confident, but with nervousness in his eyes. It took Vance a moment to recognize him. But then he saw the face, older now, stronger, and the memory clicked. Marcus, the boy he had saved in the arena. Only he was not a boy anymore. He was a man, dressed in the uniform of an Earth Diplomatic Corps officer. He stood straight and tall, and when he reached Vance, his eyes were wet with emotion. Commander, Marcus said. I don't know if you remember me. I remember. You saved my life. You told me to go home. To live. Marcus's voice cracked slightly. I couldn't stop thinking about what you did for me. A stranger. Nobody. You risked everything because I was human. Because we don't leave our own behind. Vance waited. I went home, Marcus continued. I studied. I worked harder than I ever had. I wanted to be worthy of what you did. I wanted to be someone who could help others the way you helped me. He gestured at his uniform. Now I'm part of the diplomatic team that helped negotiate this alliance. Because of you. Because you showed me what a human could be. Vance did not know what to say. He looked at this young man, this person he had saved on a whim, and saw something unexpected. He saw hope. Real hope. The kind you make, not the kind you find. You did this yourself, Vance finally said. I just bought you time. You bought me everything. Marcus reached out and shook Vance's hand firmly. Thank you. For all of it. He returned to the crowd. Shiravel watched him go, then looked at Vance. That is your legacy, she said quietly. Not the battles. Not the wars. Not the killing. That young man. The hope he carries. The future he represents. Vance was silent for a long moment. His throat felt tight. Maybe you're right, he said later that evening. As the celebrations wound down and the stars appeared in the sky above Geneva, Vance walked alone through the quiet streets. His ship was waiting at the spaceport. He could leave now, disappear again, find some quiet corner of the galaxy to spend his remaining years. But something had changed. For the first time in a very long time, he did not feel tired. He did not feel old. He felt something strange and warm spreading through his chest. Pride. Not pride in himself. Pride in his species. Pride in what they had accomplished. Pride in what they would accomplish in the centuries to come. Humans had crawled out of the mud. They had split the atom. They had reached the stars. They had taken a universe that wanted them dead and refused to die. And now they had an empire as their ally. A galaxy that was finally starting to respect them. A future brighter than any they had ever imagined. Vance stopped in the middle of a bridge and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien children were learning a new lesson in their military schools. They were learning that humans were not weak. That humans were not soft. That humans were the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. Because they simply refused to stop. And it all started with a tired old man in a worn jacket, who stood up for a stranger, because that's what humans do. Vance smiled. It was the first real smile he had worn in years. Not bad, he said to the stars. Not bad at all. Then he turned and walked toward his ship, ready for whatever came next, because that was the human way. Always moving forward. Always reaching higher. always refusing to accept that anything was impossible. The galaxy had finally learned its lesson. Never underestimate a human.